Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. My name is Esther Ninsima. I am the developer community lead with Tunga. I am so excited to have you here today. I am joined by Paul Angela Gabriela from Tunga.
Hi.
Paul, please wave to everybody.
Hi.
Paul is my co-host, and in the background there is Lynn, who has been able to make it possible, setting up the meet and everything with Zoom. She's the one who was sending you reminders. We're so excited to have you here to our first Tunga Dev Hour of 2022. And most importantly, we are so excited to host our first guest for this year. That is none other than Omoniyi Kolade, the CEO and founder of Seerbit. Hi, Ni. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for making the time out of your busy schedule.
Hi, Esther. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are so excited to have you. Sorry, give me a minute. Okay, now we're ready to start. Guys, for all those who do not know Omoniyi, he is the CEO and co-founder of Seerbit, which is a very interesting platform that is making payment possible in Africa. I think your motto is payment without borders. Please, Ni, come and tell us about, Payment without boundaries. We are so excited to have you. Could you please tell us a bit about yourself and how you have gone on to build a platform that is making it possible for payments without boundaries in Africa and world over?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Esther, for inviting us to your platform. Right. I'll say brief. My name is Omoniyi Kolade, just like you rightly said. I'm the CEO for Seerbit, and Seerbit is a Pan-African enterprise platform developed for both offline and online businesses. And we have solutions also that manage the vertical part of the banks, marketplace companies. So we enable a fast, seamless, inclusive, and secure payments for leading local and global businesses on the platform. Our core aim is to make sure that we can drive frictionless and remove fragmentations for businesses across Africa. We've been around for quite a while, and we have a journey between the last 12 years in the market. We've transited from one journey to the next journey to the next journey by identifying what's going to work, what works for the business, what's likely not going to work for the business. And the journey started from the point of where we looked at the opportunities, starting with our motto said innovation, creating access for innovation. That means we had these ideas to say without access, innovation cannot strike. So we started with building some technology solutions around CRM to see how we can actually learn about customers and use that informed information to build products for financial services. And while we're doing that, that was the advent when in Nigerian CBN licensed what they call mobile money, where they felt that that could actually translate to create financial inclusion in the market. Because Nigeria was already mature, we have a switching system where we can actually do what they call instant payment. That's actually give that skill. Even though we have high penetrating phone numbers in the market, you understand, that couldn't translate to the kind of interoperability, you understand, the market expected. So we already have a very stable opportunities where you can do instant payment. So while we're doing that, we saw that, okay, there has to be a transition immediately. And then we transited to say, okay, we want to build technology for banks, financial services, and see how we can partner to actually create the innovations alongside the financial services into the marketplace because they have the trust brand already. So we're trying to build products and see how we can actually put that product and use that, their platform, their trust platform to innovate in the marketplace. But because you look at financial services, they are so big. We have so many, revenue opportunities, right, that they are actually making. So that actually does not give us that strength to be able to see how we can innovate with them. So we cannot be prioritized, yes, and they don't see the substantial revenue we are looking at because they can actually make bigger revenue in different areas of their businesses. So at some point, we decided to say, okay, we're going to take the directions and power into our hands. And then we went for our PSP license and then decided to actually build our products and address the challenges in the markets for businesses, right, by making sure that we address those fragmentations and understand every challenges that business faces in payments. We want to be the go-to businesses or the go-to company as Seerbit to solve that problem for businesses. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. I think everybody now has an idea about what Seerbit does, and what it is all about, and why you should be looking at it as your payment platform alternative or option moving forward. I'm really curious about, because at the end of the day, we all understand when you're coming up and building a product, it is about it's about a specific niche, or about, especially with the fintech industry that is really booming in Nigeria. How have you been able to differentiate yourself from the other payment platforms that are there right now? How are you able to stand out and say, this is the issue we are addressing, and this is how we're able to stand out as Seerbit, and this is why everybody out there, every merchant should be looking at us as the best alternative?
Okay, so we're going to look at it in different ways, and then we actually have uniqueness when it comes to how we approach payment, and that's give us also a very deep rooted into payments history, right? Understanding the what they call infrastructure that actually makes payments, right? And also looking at those infrastructure and looking at the capacity of what those infrastructures that we have, and how do we use those to actually solve problems. But I think the practical route is the cost of payment today, right? If you look at it, it's where the real challenges, and also the common enemy that every electronic or anyone in digital ecosystem wants to fight, which is cash. Yes, and cash is king everywhere. So it's a common enemy, and also being able to see why you're addressing the enemy, you also want to actually address something that's peculiar. How long it takes, just at the time it takes to be able to actually process payment, and the cost of actually processing those payments. So those two things are the real factors, they are key challenges. If you look at the name, our brand name, which is Seerbit, right? We built a feature that connects both offline and online payment to drive just a seamless commerce in Africa. And that's to mean that we're not really looking at only online businesses like a lot of competitors are looking at. We're looking at a point where no customers can be differentiated, or no customers should be differentiated in the marketplace. That means we need to build a platform that creates inclusion. And to create inclusion is you actually more or less creating more revenue for the businesses out there. Because if they have more options of payments, that means they're going to have more options of people being able to, more customers being able to transact with the businesses, and then that's more revenue for the businesses. And another key part is to be able to scale businesses to just not just about just making sure that no one is differentiated, but how do we scale this business? How can it go from A to B, right? And also you understand that part, and we have something where we're introducing called Seerbit Capital, where if you're on our gateway and you have a period of like 3 months, you have a capacity to actually be able to access loan from a marketplace, from some of the partners. And those are actually what we're using to drive our innovations. And then we have different solutions and APIs that were built, right, to actually tackle those critical areas by we just identifying those problems and opportunity.
Yeah, I want to digress a bit, because not all the time we're serious. I think you mentioned something that our platform that is Seerbit. How did you even come up with the name Seerbit? How did you come up with it? I've honestly been curious to know why that name.
So I think we had a product. So like some few years ago, we built what they call a digital bank with one of the top tier banks in Nigeria, right? And then
that's Centric or something else?
It's still the same business, we built a product then, and then the idea was to say we're going to build a product, a digital platform, a digital bank that has no barrier to entry to any place you want payment to go to, right? It's a digital bank, but it's like sorry to use that word, it's like virus of payments. So it goes to where you don't even want it to go, right? So that was the sense of it. And then why we built the platform, it was really amazing. We liked what we built. Right, and then after like what we said, we couldn't scale with that with a traditional bank then, right? So from that thought is where we looked at it and say, can we build a feature? You understand? While looking at the feature and also make sure they are connecting those nodes together, and that's where the SEC came in, and the bits connecting those fragmentations and addressing those pictures came together.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I think Paul is going to jump in briefly, but before she does, I wanted to let those people know that whoever is attending, please, if you have any queries for Omoniyi, queries about Seerbit, how it functions and the like, and his journey with regards to fintech, please feel free to leave us a chat and we'll be able to answer them at the end of the session. Paul.
Yes. In many of your interviews, you have gone on to talk about making mistakes and learning from them. What do you wish your younger self knew? How would you advise African software developers that are looking to become entrepreneurs like you with regard to bridging the gaps in the fintech industry?
Pal, I think we lost you for a bit. Your internet is a bit sketchy, but let me repeat the question for him. So she's basically trying to understand that we've read and we've come to interact with some of the interviews you've been able to have and your journey in general. And you have gone on to talk about multiple times that about making mistakes and learning from them. What do you wish today that your younger self could have known before they began the journey in the fintech industry? And generally, there are quite a number of African software developers here that are looking to enter into the market like you did. How would you advise them with regard to building or to bridging multiple gaps in the fintech industry?
I think it's going to be I think my challenges may not be applicable to everybody's challenges, right? Because the journeys will vary from every individual, right? But I think generally looking at it, right, you can look at a common problem, right, which is barrier to entry, right, which I will look at from the point of regulatory, right, at the point of the traditional, market leading companies like banks, right, being able to understand what you're trying to offer, and seeing how being able to challenge the status quo. It's really a major barrier as well, right? And being able to understand how to manage yourself and navigate yourself around the traditional guys, right? Another challenge is regulatory, because there are some major things you want to do with payment that requires you to be licensed, right? And that actually limits you a lot, because I remember part of our journey, one of the reasons why we never started very quick and going wide out there was because we're just waiting for our final licenses, and that actually limits your pace into the market, right?
Yeah.
So there's so much, because payment, I think I would say payments is the lifeblood of trade, right? That means as long as trade happens, the lifeblood is going to be driver. So it's something that I think is over-regulated at some point, which is still good for the market, but I think it creates a lot of barriers also in that respect, right? So looking at ability to understand how to scale, and ability to be able to learn quickly and be able to transit as much as you can. At times people feel that they love an idea and they stick to an idea, and they feel that without that idea, they were not going to actually, is that idea or no way, right? And the idea can remain, but the approach to the idea it should be flexible, you understand, on how to across those, you understand. So I think it's more about individual, right? But again, it depends on which area of, you understand, opportunities that individual is looking at. But I think looking at the barriers to regulatory with the equivalent market and be able to navigate yourself, right? And understand what scale means, because scale is going to vary to everyone, right? And at which point, you understand, do you want to scale and then build capacity for scale, or at which direction do you want to choose?
Okay, I think that makes quite a lot of sense. And given that you are expanding into multiple markets in Africa, I imagine how challenging it has been with regard to regulation. And I think away from payment being regulated on its own, we're seeing that different countries are trying to regulate the whole idea with regards to innovation. How do they facilitate the innovation in that direction with regard to payments? And I think we're going towards the right direction. So if you do have an idea, maybe it's a high time you start working on it based on what Ni has said. But you mentioned that somebody should be flexible, have an idea, but be flexible in order to go with the market or go with the direction that your target market is going to, right? You had an idea with Seerbit. Are there some changes you had to make along the way that you would be okay sharing? based on what you originally wanted and what you've been able to adjust. Sorry, guys, there is a plane passing over my house right now. But are there any changes that you've been able to make from your original idea with Seerbit, and what adjustments have you been able to make to where you guys are standing today?
I think from the initial story about your stand centric to Seerbit, right? You see that we've transited like different points, right? To look at what point, even though we're within payments, we're building payment solutions, right? But we're building a relationship as partner, right? To help the bank, you understand, with us to scale and address those challenges, right? And you realize that those platform that you think is going to be a leverage is not becoming the leverage you wanted, right? It's not becoming like the bottlenecks because they're not realizing the opportunity. Like they said, the organization cannot disrupt itself. You understand? Until you create another entity to realize the new opportunity, you may not be able to actually appreciate it, because what makes you who you are over time, you outgrow it, and then you don't appreciate those little opportunities anymore. So those are why we translate and say, hey, we have to take the direction into our hands, you understand? So just being able to identify truly what's going to work, what's not going to work quickly, right? And then be able to see what approach is your stand is available. And again, you know, those decisions comes with a lot of your stand barriers also, right? So, but we're able to actually quickly switch and take those directions and barriers in our own hand and address them and then move.
Okay, I think that's really helpful. We're still on the subject of fintech and the fintech sector generally, not just in Africa, but world over. And we've seen an accelerated growth of the same. And it's generally being highlighted as of great importance in the tech space, because even us who are trying to innovate elsewhere, we still come back to the payments option because it's enabling growth, it's enabling job creation world over. Do you think, as a continent in Africa, are we ready for that? And what do you see for the next 10 years? What do you think you can predict or see how fintech is going to be from now on, based on the pace of innovation?
Okay, so I think firstly, I think the world is going to a digital ecosystem now, right? We're actually all transiting into that direction, right? It tells you there will be more demand for payment solutions in the market, right? Businesses want to actually become global businesses, right? So it tells you that this is a long journey, right? Because every business wants to be a global business, every business wants to be like the Amazon, right? And every business wants to be accessible. And that's what Seerbit is built for, to make sure that some businesses can scale beyond their local presence, right? And be able to beyond the local market that they find themselves. So for the long journey, I think fintech is going to be fintech, right? Because fintech is just simply what do you call it? Financial technology, right?
Financial technology.
If you look at the broader way, it's just like breaking bank into pieces and taking part of the banks where they are not very efficient and making more efficient and ability to scale them, right? Using technology or digitalization. And if you also look at it, there's a new trend that is happening where everything is becoming software. So every device you see, even from technology, networking, and every other things, are all becoming software, right? And then that requires that there's a new transition. That means that there's going to be easier flow over time into connecting payment solutions into everything, as long as it's software, not hardware anymore, right? In the long run, you've seen also what do you call the crypto, right? I'm not going to get into, that's not my specialty.
I don't understand it either. I've been trying to, but wow, we're moving so fast, I can't keep up.
Yeah, so there's so much in crypto now where there are a lot of models and there's a lot of innovations around it, trying to address cross-border payment, P2P payments, right? Trying to actually manage integrity too, right? And crypto has actually come in different ways to come and make some statement to say, oh, they can create more integrity, right? But I don't think in the area of costs or in the area of the speed of your stand, I don't think there has been so much change in that area, right? So it's also a part of innovations, right? And in the 10 years time, I think payment is going to be about, for me, it's just going to be about identity, right? Once your identity can be validated, you can actually transact easily, you understand, without having a card, without having anything, right? So I think everything is going to go back to singularity. It it's all about people, identity, and then your identity is your person, and with your identity authorizing your identity, you can authorize payments. I think in the near future that's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be 10 years. I'm not.
Could be sooner, because I'm seeing governments are really, really emphasizing it with regards to the need for identity. I think in Uganda right now, I can't even open a bank account without my national ID, which right now everyone in the country is required to have. Like, it's your identity, like identifier for every single thing. And they're making it in such a manner that every resource or every service that you may need is actually connected to that one card of yours. So when you lose it, you literally do not exist. So I do understand the direction that it's going. Yeah.
Yeah, so the going online and digital phenomenon was greatly propelled by the pandemic, that of course because of COVID and all that was going on. Yeah, so and this can be attributed to the social distancing which came about because of the whole COVID and whatnot, but also the change in customer behavior. And this clearly led to a further boost in the fintech industry. What direction does innovation need to go in order to meet the surging demand for digital payments?
I'm sorry, please, I don't know. Your question is not that clear. Can you help me?
I think we also have background noise from your end. Sorry.
Let me check that.
We can hear you.
Okay, I think I have an idea of what she's trying to get into. It is of course clear that what it is being called today is the whole going online and digital phenomena, right? It was greatly pushed by the pandemic. Even as I speak here for Tunga, we were really pushed by the pandemic, because in that case, it became okay and for people to work remotely. So I think what she's trying to ask is that with the pandemic coming in and the change of the consumer behavior, that in many ways, yes, has boosted the fintech industry. But how do you think, or what do you think innovation needs to go? What direction do you think innovation needs to go in order to meet the surging demand for digital payments? When you look at the current statistics, pre-pandemic and to date, the number of digital payments have gone extremely high compared to how it was previously. So do you think we are ready, or what direction do you think we need to innovate in order to meet that surging demand for digital payments?
So I think for me, I think the little understanding I have in the market today, there's a really transition that is happening. Look at Africa, where you have so much offline businesses today. You have the biggest offline businesses today across Africa, right? And I think if those businesses are not digitalized, you cannot be talking about just the kind of innovations. And those innovations start from that level first, to be able to create digitalizations for those SME. And we've seen a lot of businesses playing in those areas, right? Yeah. You are seeing pops and mom, you start distribution of goods, you start being able to happen between manufacturing and the last mile when it comes to a pops or a mom's or a supermarket, right? And I think if those ones are well digitalized, I think payments is going to actually stream heavily into those areas. And I think traditional businesses now looks to digital platform to stay afloat. It's becoming mandatory to stay afloat and continue to satisfy their targeted customers, because those customers already are really adopting the digital what do you call it, payment solution. I think again, if you also look at it in the point of fragmentations, right? I think COVID has actually allowed a lot of businesses to realize that potentials to be innovative in those areas where some businesses actually end up dying, while some they struggle their way out of it, right? It tells you that it's a signal to say if they don't innovate, it's either you innovate or you die, right? Yeah. And I think those are where a lot of players need to come in and look at those the after effects of COVID, right? What are the areas and key areas that really created a real damaging or a key impact or negative impact, right, in the entire system, and see how they can actually disrupt it, enhance it, or build a quite lovely innovations around it. Because I think African has an opportunity where we have not really started. So we're starting right, and then we had that big market to really go big and scale big.
Yeah. I think it's actually pushing us to explore ideas that we didn't think about. I was really amused when I was in Nigeria, and every time I needed to make a payment, because back home cash is what is used. Every time I needed to make a payment, then it was card or cash. Sorry, bank card or bank transfer. Like that is even the smallest shop that I would go to. Someone would ask me card or bank transfer, and I was really amazed because back home in Uganda, those are areas that have not yet been tapped into, and of course everyone is trying to innovate in that direction, and we are still having struggles with regards to mobile money being extremely expensive. So we are looking at what alternatives are there. Of course, digressing, of course we all know that building a business is not the easiest thing. So let's talk about the money. It is no secret that Seerbit is bootstrapped. Why did you decide to go in to start such a platform without necessarily going the route of venture capital and fundraising, and what that is ideally the direction that every startup in Africa is looking at? So why did you decide to follow the bootstrap direction? And do you think you could consider fundraising?
Yeah, I think it's all about the directions and the let me say how long you're looking at based on the size of the opportunities you're looking at, right? And I think everybody has different models and different approaches to approach the market, right? We're just looking at the organic models to be able to learn very fast, understand what we're doing after, and then be able to build the right products and be able to focus, right? Rather than actually being about the profits, right? Being able to get the right directions to see how far we can build the lasting businesses, right? Than just having to build a quick business for the purpose of the moment, right? So I think those are questions that we just read and we need to answer. That's a little bit so.
I'm not sure if it was my internet or if you were breaking.
I'm not sure if it was my internet or if you were breaking.
I think
it's...
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't know why the sound is acting funny.
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't know why the sound is acting funny.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
I think there is a bit of a lag.
I think there's a bit of a lag.
Hello?
Yes, I think now it's better. Oops. I think we lost you, Niyi, for a bit.
Hello?
Yes, okay, now it's perfect.
Hello? Okay.
Yes, now I can hear you. I think this is much better. I don't think I was able to get your response with regards to why you decided to go with a bootstrap direction as opposed to venture capital and the like.
So I think what I just said was just to look at it that what was going to work for us, right? How do we build long-lasting businesses, and then how do we model or understand exactly infrastructure that is required to build like something that is lasting, understand the kind of time in the market to focus on, and then we have really a more profits, right? And then we need to see how we can concentrate to build and capture the kind of opportunity we want. I think that was what was it about. But you know, reasons for.
Okay. Okay, where had we stopped? For some reason, every time we talk about the money, your internet disconnects. I don't know if there is an issue in that direction, but yes. Well, what we've been able to observe is the increased like everywhere you look, this one got seed funding, this has this venture capital, this and that. Do you think there are things that people need to worry about with that specific ideology with regards to venture capital?
I think from my own little view, right? I don't think, depending on the idea, the directions of what the business is looking at, right? Because you have to look at funding in different ways, right? How fast do you want to go? How big do you want to go quickly? That means in real time. You understand, and how sizable the competition, right, is in the
Yeah.
space where you are, right? Because the competition is very high, and then you want to actually be able to create that quick win, right? Yeah. So I think it varies, and some again, it has to look at the capital. I look at the story about Seerbit, right? We've already been in the journey of you understand offering services where we'll be actually be very organic about our model. So it was easier for us to transit rather than looking at that directions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but does not mean that we're not seeing traction about some of the investors also discussing with us. But we just feel that there's a time being for the business to build what we need to build, identify our own opportunity, see how we can build a lasting businesses, you understand, and also build a capacity to actually be able to compete, you understand, between now
Yeah.
and the next future, as the markets keep evolving, right? And as the entire ecosystem becomes digitalized, right? We're just making sure that we have the right platform to be able to scale, right? And Seerbit has what it takes to actually be able to expand and grow and
Yeah.
be the choice, you understand, in the nearest future of the payment gateway for Africa as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I can summarize it in a manner of know your product, know the market that you're bringing it into, understand how fast you would like to grow based on your competition, and that can allow you be able to better make a decision. I think that narrows it down for us. Um, Again, we're looking at markets. You have been able to set up in Nigeria, Kenya, Senegal, and other African countries. And we can all agree that the regulatory response of governments, especially in Africa, to the dominance of fintechs has been a bit slow. Of course, there is a bit of pushback from banks and telecos in that direction. So the regulation has been a bit slow compared to the pace that we are innovating and expanding, because the young people are coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas in order to make different services accessible as easy as possible. Do you think that the lack of laws or the few laws will in one way or another hurt the African population or the economies or even the innovators themselves, especially with regards to financial fraud, which is something that people are putting a really big emphasis on it? And in that same regard, how do you think different governments can position themselves to allow us, the young people, to succeed in this sector?
Okay, I think from if you have to look at it from the point of government regulatory, right? I think that's one of the biggest challenge barrier. So imagine where you have 54 African countries, right? And if you have to be a payment gateway across 55 countries, are you going to get 55 licenses in each local market, right? Which I think it's not thinkable, right? And I think that's one of the big barriers when it comes to that. But meanwhile, you cannot but say fintechs has to be regulated, right? Because there has to be some sense of trust in the market, no matter how great the innovations are, right? There has to be a sense of trust. But I think there's a way where you can balance trust and also balance your stand accessibility and innovation, right? If you look at the current after you understand the African continental trade, those are part of what I think is going to actually change the landscape also for trade. Yeah, where you have a central switch, you understand, where it can actually facilitate cross-border, you understand, engagement for fintechs where they can leverage on top and still build some nice products on. So I think something like that should actually come up where you can actually have a aggregated model to incorporate or connect to, right? I think that would be a better way to look at it. And I think again, when you say regulatory, I think again, you have to look at it in a two-way to balance it, right? Regulatory can actually suffer innovations, right? And also, if it's not there again, it can actually become a very big disruption also again, right? So
Yeah,
I
because
think
there are no boundaries.
so I think what is sensible is just look at what point you can create a proper balance, right? And that only balance comes by your ability understanding the entire scope of where the challenges are and how to support your stand in a better framework to solve those challenges. But I think again, anybody that wants to really play, I always advise that just keep playing as long as you don't break the rules. I don't think you should limit your opportunities or your potential to keep your stand building.
Okay. Where do you see Seerbit 5 years from now, given how far you guys have been able to come since 2019? Where do you see yourselves in this competitive world that you're in?
So I think by the virtue of one of the models we're running today to be one of the payment enabler, that means we're going to be a platform to enable other businesses which are payments, offering, trying to offer payment solutions, and also trying to even be an enabler in some of the marketplace that we play today, where we're going to create the transitions that address the fragmentation between even two popular payment methods, like they say mobile money and cards in some countries, right? How do you create synergies in this kind of platform, right? So why would build those rails of enabler? Want to be able to also create at a point where there's going to be a sense of what do you call it, single points where we make it easy for you to be able to trade in any country and able to receive your money easily, you understand, without actually considering the cross-border effects, you understand.
Yeah.
I think in 5 years' time, or maybe even in next like 3 years, doing the basic first and then building on your other parts of your roadmap, right? We're looking at becoming one of the top 3 payment gateway in Africa, right? In 5 years, as if we can actually be able to achieve some of our roadmap as quick as we can.
Yeah. And guys, whoever is on this call, I would like to let you know that you're the first to hear this. And you have witnessed that Seerbit is going to be one of the top platforms, payment gateways in Africa. And I'm glad that you've been on this call to be able to hear this right from the CEO himself. If you do have questions, please keep them coming in. We'll be able to respond to them and clear any queries that you may have. Okay, you have talked about the business, you have talked about the future of fintech, you have talked about where you see it going. I'm really curious to know because you started this idea and previously you had been in the fintech industry, of course, but what challenges did you experience? What frustrations really pushed you in one way or another that everyone on this call should know in the event that they're trying to innovate in that direction?
Okay, I think like I said, there are so much challenges, right? Today, you have to look at different ways. If you're building a business in Africa, for example, right? There's so much factors already that limits your potential to actually be able to go beyond what you should do. Let's look at our space today, right? Just setting up a payments reliability, a trusted platform in Nigeria alone. Require the level of connections you have to do with different partnerships and financial institutions. If you put all those numbers together, it's almost like you expanding to 8 countries in Europe. You understand? It seems like you're still within Nigeria space. So you look at those fragmentations and multiplicity in banking system, right? Yeah. Where never yet a uniform way of getting that multiplicity in the banking industry is a big challenge, right? And everybody faces it, and we are also it's also a challenge to us, right? And also looking at being in a space that is just kind of still very, I think, early at this early stage. You understand, fintech is still very at this early stage, and I mean, there's a learning curve for a lot of people, right? And that's also is going to create a lot of barriers where you're limited to a lot of people that has the right information to support the kind of growth and progress you want to achieve or attain in the marketplace, either from the regulatory point, either from the partner point, or either as a business as you yourself. So combining all those are really big challenges. They are too much, but I'm just trying to make sure that they are boxed into a higher level. Yeah. Also, being able to see how you can actually be building the businesses and understand how to scale the businesses and still looking at managing day-to-day of the businesses, right? Also, it's also part of a normal challenges anyone face. Will face, but I think over time we'll um, be able to understand every time move your son or ride above those challenges, and then we're here, and then we're hoping to actually promise to grow bigger and then deliver our mandates, just like we said earlier.
Yeah. Payment without boundaries. Okay. I think there was a question that was a bit different. Someone was asking how they can get work as a data scientist or back-end Python intern at Seerbit. Person knows what they want.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
How they can get to work as a data scientist or back-end developer intern at Seerbit.
Please, I think for anyone that actually is looking at that part can actually drop it, can message us at hr@seerbit.com, right, to approach us and then explain, attach your CV and then engage our HR. I think they will be open to discuss and just embrace you and see if you stand there's an opportunity in our environment.
Yeah. And you guys, the more Seerbit grows, the more opportunities there are to hire us. So just be sure to sign up on their platform or see which other merchants that you may know that would need this service, because it's making things quite easier, especially cross-border transactions. Okay, do we have any other questions from the community, Lynn, or are we going to close out? I promised you 45 minutes. We are at 48. So I think that's good. We're still within the limit, plus or minus 5. Okay, I don't think we have any other questions from people. Okay, is there anything else you would like us to take away from this conversation and we can be able to close out? Where can they find Seerbit? Links?
Okay, so Seerbit, www.seerbit, it's our website, right? And then Seerbit is a payment gateway, like we earlier said, right? Where we have we build payment solutions to address different fragmentations, to address different verticals, challenges in different verticals in the marketplace, right? And we have our API too, which is doc.seerbit.com, right? Where you can actually review our varieties of APIs. And then we have our API called Reference API that allows you to actually get in-depth interactions with our API to review those APIs and see how they meet your needs. We have built our payment rails to address different local market needs, right? And make sure that those most popular payment methods per each of the African countries we have those payment capabilities for them. And then we are hoping to build more capability on those rails as we move across across Seerbit. To access our dashboard is dashboard.seerbit.com, dashboard API.seerbit.com, where if you want to actually try our dashboard, try our platform, try to see what are the capabilities and features that we have there. And I think the platform is quite flexible. It's customizable, right, to suit some of the businesses that want to use the platform. And we'll be coming out also with some very interesting, exciting features on our gateway by maybe second quarters, where we're going to build in some handshake with some stakeholders, like developers in the marketplace, to see how we can empower them just beyond just using our API in the marketplace. And I think we are looking forward to it, and we hope they look forward to that too, also with us. Thank you very much. And thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I think there is one last question from an attendee who is asking, is there something already that merchants can't integrate to? I'm not sure if I understand it. Is there something already that merchants can't integrate to?
Yes, there are so much. So we have different SDK.
Can integrate to, sorry. Is there something that merchants can integrate to? Yeah.
Yeah, so we have plugins, right, on our API. So if the person can go to doc.seerbit, as you stated, right, you will see the varieties of these API, right, and there are different SDKs for different developer stack, right, based on which developer is either Java, either is a React, wherever it is, there are different SDKs to meet different stacks. And also, we already have some plugins to Wix today. We have plugins to some of the online e-commerce platform. And also, we have, what do you call it, different types of integrations, you understand, fast integrations, API integrations, as based on whatever they need. They can actually explore the documentations.
Yeah.
Works.
I think someone is asking if your pricing is negotiable.
Yeah, depending on the opportunities that we're reviewing here, we're hoping to do that. Yeah, with.
Okay. I don't think we have any other questions coming through. Thank you so much, Omoniyi, for making the time to join us and to be able to give us your experience and story with regards to building a very powerful platform that is Seerbit, and hopefully everyone on this webinar has been able to get the information that they need and the push that they need in order to start innovating. For everyone that has been able to join us, we would really like to appreciate your time. We're looking for ways to support you better, but then also to be able to bring for you interesting speakers like Omoniyi, who are making a difference within the tech world. So if you do have an idea about the person that you would like to see next, please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn or to send me an email, esther@tunga.io. I'll be able to give you a swift response on how we can proceed from there. For those in Uganda, Kampala, we do have the PyCla event tomorrow, where we shall be hosting Python software developers in Kampala to basically interact and get to know each other and learn. So if you're interested in joining, please feel free to come to the Tunga Hub in Bugolobi. We'll be there to welcome you. And yeah, if you do have any queries, follow up for Omoniyi, please send them to me and we shall be able to share with you answers post the webinar. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today, and have a great day and evening, and have a great weekend, most importantly. I hope you have fun. Bye.
Right, thank you.